9:30 according to the Verizon clocks. We'll call the meeting to go order with first order of business being pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence for the endless victims of gun violence in our country. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. All right, have to do a roll call because we got a lot of remote folks here today. Jen Litak, are you on? Jen? Senator Brewster? Nick Piscitano, are you on? If we got a good connection here and everybody's not acknowledging that they're on.
I'm here, Jeff. This is Nick.
Oh, great. Thank you. Allie Doyle?
I'm here.
Thank you. Michelle Manic? I see you.
I'm here.
Michelle. Okay. All right, and the rest of you are here in person, so. With that, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the annual meeting, January 26, 2024, as well as the minutes of the January 26 regular meeting. Let's do the annual meeting first. So have a motion for approval.
Motion.
So second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, the motion carries. Now with the January 26th regular meeting, may I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, well, next we'll get the report of our CEO. Catherine, you're up.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. May I please have a moment of silence for the following retired employees who passed away in January. Operators Robert Davenport, John Gary, and Richard Robinson. Radio repair person Stephen Washak. Garage attendant Robert Dukes. Maintenance relief clerk Daniel Frank. Body repair person Robert Moore. And transit police officer John Dorsey. Thank you. A few days after our last board meeting, Governor Shapiro unveiled his FY25 budget proposal that included an additional $280 million a year in state funding for public transit. The proposal out of Harrisburg is welcome news for public transit agencies and advocates across the Commonwealth. If approved, this is our first increase in funding since 2007, 17 years. For us here at PRT, the governor's proposal acknowledges the importance that public transit plays in our region's growth, sustainability, vitality, and economic recovery, and will afford us the opportunity in the coming weeks to highlight the need for a long-term funding solution. So for the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the legislature considering this, thank you for making transit the priority that it should be. We have several folks who are registered to speak to us today on the lack of information that comes out to them when they are waiting for a bus. The parlance might be a ghost bus or a missed trip. Whatever it is for you, when you're at that bus stop, especially when it's cold, and it's been a warm winter, but we've had cold days, you don't care what we call it. Your trip isn't there, nobody told you. Internally, we have piloted what's called disruption management, a system that pushes out the alerts on what's going on with buses which are running late or buses which aren't out there. This is information comes straight from our dispatchers who, while they are pulling together the miracle of service every day, are pushing that information out and takes a burden off our operators to answer those questions for you. Our original intent had been to go live with disruption management when we could also push out detour information. As we're working through our detour software, we find out that really Pittsburgh is special. We always say that, no one says, yes, you are. The software is designed for one detour at a time, but often in Pittsburgh, we'll have several detours on a route. So rather than make folks wait for this information until we can sort out that last bit of software, look for notifications, at least in the upcoming month, about how to get signed up for the system so we can push that information to your smartphone so you get the notice that a trip is not there. Now, clearly, the best course of action is that your trip is filled. To that end, we don't have a hiring bottleneck. We have a training bottleneck that we are actively working on. So I want to say thank you to our partners at ATU and also our entire training department. 32 operator candidates in training now. 300 people will come into this agency this year for training. And with our attrition rate, we're anticipating 200 folks being able to join our ranks this year. That will let us cover attrition and retirements. That'll let us stabilize our schedules, have the buffer we need so folks can get off of retraining, but also have the service out there so the folks who took their time to come speak to us today about missing trips can do what they want to do with that hour, which I'm confident does not come here and talk to us about service. And finally, I think we all know by now that our most valuable asset isn't our 700 buses, 80 rail cars, busways, track bridges, operating facilities. That's not the benefit that we have. It's 2,500 people that we employ who do this work every single day. We are, I say, having been at 5 agencies, we have, this is the best crew of folks that you could have for transit. We have amazing employees here, wonderful team members. And we try to recognize the contributions and honor for service, especially when they go above and beyond, and we catch them. We know they go above and beyond all the time. So this year, the All-Star Committee received dozens of worthy nominations. So we're doing our All-Star Awards. So you guys, the All-Stars, you're rock stars. Thank you for the work that you're doing. When I get to your story, please come on up with your DSD to collect your award so we can and get your pictures. The first employee that I have the privilege to recognize is out of our East Liberty garage, Gregory Bradshaw. Come on up. Mr. Bradshaw was driving on a rainy day and he saw a vehicle hit 3 joggers, but Gregory did not stop to just keep going. He pulled over, he helped them onto his bus, got them out of the rain, and while they waited for paramedics to transport them to the hospital. So, Mr. Bradshaw, you're getting the All-Star Award, but can I embarrass you a little bit? Is that okay? Okay, well, good. I'll try not to overdo it. Mr. Bradshaw is retiring on Thursday. And how many years do you have? How many years? 23 and a half. My goodness. So your career could almost run for the House of Representatives, which is crazy. And so Mr. Bradshaw has seen. He's seen from when we had waiting lists for people to hire through now. He's seen when we had 35% more service on the road. He's seen people say to him, you moved my bus stop 15 years ago and you never came back. He drove through a pandemic and he's out there now where, let's be honest, people are just not as nice. Traffic is worse. And you've never not smiled, except for right now, you're not smiling, which it's not, you don't have to. So in addition to an amazing All-Star Award, I want to say thank you for a wonderful career. So thank you, everybody. Please.
You want to hold it? Looks good. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kinney, I'm not going to do the same thing to embarrass you. So sit down. Our next All-Star Award is from our Collier Garage. Last summer, operator James Kinney was driving a 17 Shadeland bus when he pulled up to the scene of a crash. Most of us would stay in our vehicles and rubberneck. I know I would, or I'd yell at everyone else who was rubbernecking. Most of us would wonder if it was okay to drive by, but not Mr. Kinney. He stopped the bus, ran out, pulled somebody out of a burning car, and then applied a tourniquet to the victim's arm. So when we say people here are lifesavers, James Kinney's a literal lifesaver. Not only did he save him from a burning car, again, you saved a life. And the person he saved happened to be an off-duty Pittsburgh firefighter. Of course, saving any life we would think was amazing, but that's icing on the cake. So Mr. Kinney, for the amazing thing you did, we have a trophy, but thank you so much. Our next All-Star is one of our 3 honorees from West Mifflin Garage. Last February, an 8-year-old child climbed on board Lorraine King's bus. Lorraine asked the child if she knew where she was going, and if the 8-year-old's like my kids, yes, of course she knew where she was going, and that's what she said. But later, Miss King noticed that the child was still on the bus and asked if she needed help. Good thing Miss King did. The child admitted she was lost and didn't know her address or her phone number. So Miss King pulled over and reported the child, who had already been reported missing by her family. Thanks to Miss King's sharp attention to detail, the child and her parents were reunited. So we thank you, Ms. King, for being an example to all of us. And speaking as a parent, I'm having heart palpitations right now. You averted a potential tragedy and showed us what caring really looks like. So thank you so much. Our next All-Star Award recipient is Alan, whose last name Loskosh. Oh my gosh, I was never going to get, I'm so sorry. Loskosh from Rosk Division. On a late winter night on East Ohio Street, a group of people flagged down Allen's Route 54 bus. A man was on the sidewalk. They said he was not breathing. He needed help. Allen sprang into action, called 911, but knew more was needed until they arrived. He performed CPR until the crews arrived. Now, unfortunately, the man didn't survive, but Allen gave him a chance and showed him that the care he needed in his final moments. I will point out that Allen was up here last year also for performing CPR on somebody, if I'm correct. And then in the interim last time, you had found someone else you performed CPR with. So I'm going to just ride with you all the time. But this is the second consecutive year that Allen has been an All-Star Award. So I want to say first, Mr. Loskosh is amazing. Second, get your CPR training. Here's proof of the difference that people can make. So for your continued compassion, heroism, and the ability to just do CPR everywhere. Thank you so much. Thank you for being an All-Star. Our next All-Star Award is the second recipient from West Mifflin, Richard Romagna. Mr. Romagna, did I get your name right? Thank goodness. Mr. Romagna spotted a child after hearing a missing child report over the radio, and he did not waste any time. He stopped, helped this child onto his bus, and met police in the city. Who knows what would have happened if Mr. Romagna did not see this child and get off his bus and create a safe space for this child and intervene. Thank you again. As a parent, heart is freaking out. Had Richard not paid attention to this bulletin and had those quick eyes out on the street, who knows what would have happened. For that, we are honored to present you with an All-Star Award. Our sixth All-Star recipient is from our Ross Division, Kathy Thomas Taylor. Ms. Thomas Taylor was driving her regular bus route when she noticed, what is this with children? Oh my gosh, you guys, thank you so much. Noticed a small child who appeared lost, confused, and in need of help at Perrysville Avenue and Riverview Park. Kathy reported the situation and waited for assistance from the route foreman and police. Kathy could have just stopped there, but she went ahead and used her own money to get a drink and a snack for the kiddo and to spend some time together waiting for help to arrive. So Kathy, for being an amazing person and bringing a scary situation to a peaceful end, we are honored to present you with your All-Star Award, and Kathy is not here. Personal matter, okay. She didn't need someone to provide CPR, right? Okay, good. Well, let's give her a round of applause. And our final All-Star Award is back to West Mifflin. Operator Monique Wynn was driving Route 83, and when she saw a car collide with a motorcycle. Miss Wynn, what's up with that? Thankfully, Miss Wynn has extensive EMS training and it kicked in. She got off the bus and used the victim's belt as a tourniquet to stop the bleeding from his leg. She even called his wife to let her know what was going on and stayed with him until police arrived on the scene. Paramedics say Miss Wynn saved a life. For your compassion and heroism, we are honored to present you with an All-Star Award.
Happy tears. Good job.
Okay, so now we're going to do a group picture with the boards. You all have to come up here. Not a joke. All right, everyone wanted a look. No, that's all. Okay, we're going to get a photo with our board members. Stand.
You gotta come around? Yes. Or come up here?
Yeah, let's come up here and to make sure Dawn is
If we have to come around for John.
Oh, no, we're staying up here.
Yeah. They have to come, and you guys have to.
You want us behind?
You have to. It's not gonna work any other way.
Okay, you gotta go back.
Come.
You feel privileged.
We are privileged.
No, we're the ones that are privileged.
Yeah, we are.
Thank you.
You guys, thank you for your service. Thank you for your job. Congratulations.
Can we slide these two chairs away and people can come in the table?
Same slide chair.
We'll have everyone just get as close as. And if you can see me, I can see you. So if you're in the background and someone's obscuring your view of me, just move a little bit.
Yes, I'm good. Just make sure
And
you're
the first one is the test. One more, a little happy. Thank you.
Thank you for the service. Enjoy your retirement.
Yes, ma'am.
And on behalf of the board, so let me extend our congratulations to all the winners of these awards, very well deserved. And you are what exemplifies the greatness of this particular organization and of the city of Pittsburgh. And we say, when you save a life, you save a world. So thank you so much for all you've done. Really appreciate it.
And I understand we have a special guest here today. Jason, can I embarrass you? Miss Wynn would say to Jason. Thank you for being with. And nothing tops that, Mr. Chair. So unless there's questions, I'm done.
No, I don't think there's any questions. Yes, I'm wrong. Okay, thank you, Catherine. All right, with that, we'll move on to, I think, the shortest report I've ever seen from the Performance and Oversight Committee, because it looks like you transferred everything over to the Finance Committee, because that's where the bulk is. So, Michelle, if you want to provide your report.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. And definitely congratulations to our all-stars. I'm truly grateful for all of your compassionate service. So the Performance Oversight Committee met last week, and I have one item to report. The committee reviewed 6 procurement items and determined the bids to be in accordance with PRT's procurement policies and procedures, and prices to be fair and reasonable. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends the award of bids listed in the resolution for the total amount of $2,275,739.88. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
May I have a motion? Is
So moved.
there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Any opposed? That motion carries. That's the end of your report, Michelle.
Yep, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Mr.
That's a
Chair.
record. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the report of the Planning and Stakeholder Relations Committee from its chair, John Tay. John, you're on.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, fellow board members, stakeholders. Planning and Stakeholders Relations Committee met last week. I have a few items for the board. First, the Chief Development Officer, Amy Silverman, provided the committee with an overview of the service level and operator changes between 2023 and 2020, 2024. Over the past 4 years, PRT has had to balance ridership with availability of operators. Between 2020 and 2024, weekly service was decreased by 10.5%. Our available operators decreased by 11.9%. Second, the Chief Human Resource Officer, Inez Colon, provided an update on the operators' trends and recruiting efforts. As we all know, since COVID-19 pandemic, it has been very challenging to hire drivers and remain bus and rail operators. PRT has worked very hard to recruit more operators, increase the hourly training pay rate, offered incentives to student operators with a CDL, ended the COVID vaccine mandate, and hosted a PRT job fair on December 15, 2023. Three, Amy also provided the committee with an update on the University Line BRT project. She provided an update on the project's construction, which began in September 2023. The downtown construction phase will include 5 new stations with large glass shelters and upgraded amenities. In coordination with the start of the construction of PRT, reduced service hours on 4 bus routes, 61D, 71A, 71C, and 71D in October of 2023. Changes were made in the change due to operator shortage and the congestion that we anticipate from BRT construction downtown. An update of the performance of these 4 routes based on data in October 2020 through 2023 showed ridership on the 4 routes decreased by 25%. Ridership on the 4 routes that continue the downtown increased by 35%. In total, looking at the 8 routes impacted, ridership increased by 3%. The entire bus network saw a 4% increase during the same time. Fourth item is the Committee for Accessible Transportation. The CAP meeting was held on February 1st. CAP members provided updates on funding, advocacy, and bus stop consolidation. PRT staff provided the committee with updates on the following items: operator hiring goals, the annual service report, February service changes, the Homestead to McKeesport project. Access provided an update on ridership and driver staffing. The next meeting will be held on May 22nd or May 2nd. The fifth and final item, the Allegheny County Transit Council met on February 21st. PRT staff provided the committee with updates on the following items: operator hiring and goals, updates to the fare payment system, the Homestead to McKeesport project, and update on the Heron Station. The next meeting will be held on March 20th. Unless the board members have any questions, that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, John. Are there any questions? Okay, with that, we'll move on to the report of the Finance Committee, a large one this time. So
Yep.
go ahead, Ann, you're on.
Get started. Good morning, Chair and fellow board members. The Finance Committee met last week and I have 4 resolutions for your consideration. The first resolution would authorize PRT to extend and amend an agreement with Mar Dusel for financial audit and pension plan services. PRT entered into a 3-year agreement with Mar Dusel in February 2021, and to date, the performance of services has been satisfactory and in compliance with the agreement. The initial 3-year term of the agreement expires on March 25th, 2024, and PRT has determined that it is in their best interest to exercise the first option year and increase the total not to exceed amount by $112,500. The Finance Committee recommends extending the agreement with Marducil for 1 year to March 25th, 2025, and the total not to exceed amount of $426,000. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
The next resolution authorizes PRT to extend and amend financial advisory agreements with PFM Financial Advisors LLC and NW Financial Group LLC. In February 2021, PRT's board authorized the award to both firms for an initial term of 3 years for a total not to exceed amount of $400,000 to be allocated on an as-needed basis through work orders. The agreements also contain 2 option years to be exercised by PRT in its sole discretion. The Finance Committee recommends extending the agreements with both firms 1 additional year to April 30th, 2025, with no increase to the total not to exceed amount. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
The next resolution I have authorizes PRT to enter into an agreement to provide fair model development, fair consulting, and related Title VI fair equity services. An RFP was prepared and publicly advertised, and 4 proposals were received. The proposal submitted by NWC Partners, Inc. has been determined to be the highest rated proposal for the performance of the services. The Finance Committee recommends that PRT enter into an agreement with NWC Partners, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $424,940 for an initial 3-year period with the option to extend the term of the agreement up to 2 additional years at the sole discretion of PRT. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
May I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
The final resolution I have for your consideration is authorization to adopt and implement a debt policy. On April 28th, 2023, the board passed a resolution authorizing PRT to accept the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation's 2022 Act 44 Performance Review and the 2023 Act 44 Action Plan, which contained various recommendations to help PRT meet its performance targets. One of these action items was for PRT to adopt and implement a formal debt policy to formalize sound, prudent, and appropriate parameters, and to provide guidance governing the issuance, management, continuing evaluation of, and reporting on all debt obligations issued or incurred by PRT. The Finance Committee recommends the board adopt the debt policy attached to the resolution as Exhibit A. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
A review of the January financial results was also presented at last week's meeting. It was reported that total operating income for the month of January was over budget by approximately $800,000 due to higher passenger revenue and access and interest revenue. Total expenses for the month of January were below budget by $1.7 million due to lower wages and benefits, purchase services, and access expense. Total subsidy is $72.4 million higher than last fiscal year due to higher federal stimulus invoicing and higher preventative maintenance. It was reported that PRT ended the month of January with approximately $345.8 million in cash reserves. Unless there are any other questions or comments, that concludes my report.
Any questions for Mr. Gore? Okay, thank you. And with that, we'll move on to the report of the Technology Committee from Chair Jen Lipak. Jen, you're on.
Thank you. Can you hear me fine, Mr. Chairman?
You're coming in loud and clear.
Thank you. Good morning. The Technology Committee met on February 15th, and I just have one resolution for consideration today. The committee heard a presentation concerning a resolution to purchase new fare vending machines as part of our fare system refresh project. The new fare vending machines will replace the existing units that are already in place in locations around the county, along with new units for the BRT unit lines. The contract with Parkin Incorporated, doing business with Flowbird, is being recommended with a total not to exceed of $8,856,475 over 5 years with 2 option years. The committee concluded that the equipment is needed and that the prices are fair and reasonable. With that, I request a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll take that as a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes my
Thank you,
report.
Jen.
Chair.
All right, with that, we'll move into new business. I just have 2 brief announcements at the annual meeting last month. When I went through the board standing committee appointments, I failed to mention that Joe Totten was appointed to the finance committee and to the technology committee. I would usually take responsibility when these things are my fault, but this one was not my fault. I also want to confirm that Senator Jim Brewster is chair of the audit committee. Okay, with that, we're going to move into public comment. And I just want to remind the speakers of their 3-minute speaking limitation. And I want to apologize in advance when I rudely cut anybody off, but we do try to stick as closely as possible to the 3-minute rule. So again, apologies in advance. Our first speaker is Andrew Hussein. Andrew, I know you're not here. Are you on the line?
Yes.
Andrew? Andrew, go
Yes, can you
ahead,
hear
you're
me?
on. Yes, you're on.
All right. Good morning, board members. Well, to start off with, I want to also extend a congratulations to the people who got those awards this morning. Definitely very much deserved and a little heartwarming to see at least that things in PRT are not always doom and gloom, and that we have all-stars taking their cues from some rock stars at the top. Unfortunately, though, we sometimes also have to address the bad, which is why I'm sure why many of my fellow speakers are here this morning. And start with, as usual, again, that these continued cuts to service are less than pleasant, as we all know, and sometimes not thoroughly thought out. For example, things like turning the Silver Line T into a short shuttle in the PM evening hours on certain nights. While it's nice that Port Authority has actually done a great job at coordinating the connections between the Silver Line shuttle at night and the blue and red lines, it is equally unfortunate that there's some confusion at the end of service day with regards to how late the shuttle actually runs between Washington Junction and Library, and that the service actually ends earlier than it used to, including having a couple of trains that go out to Library and then they are just not in service coming back, even though they still have to go to the rail center to get back to the garage anyway. So I would hope that we're looking at making some more tweaks and improvements and restoring some of that service the next chance we get to make schedule changes. And then aside from service, I would also once again urge the Port Authority to look at on the, since Catherine had brought it up earlier, the alerts and notifications of things to the public, but also with regards to whenever Port Authority disseminates their digital data out to things like Google or out to like transit and third-party apps. When Port Authority puts together this digital data for apps to use, there needs to be some quality assurance, because every time Port Authority finds a way to miss or mess something up in the digital data that these apps have. For example, with these recent changes, you have apps that can't recognize the difference between certain routes because PRT doesn't
Hey.
acknowledge.
Thank you, Andrew. That's your time. but we
All right.
appreciate the comments. Okay, our next speaker is Paul Zambri. Paul, are you here or on the line? Come on up.
I just speak right into this.
Yeah, you can say, you can have a seat. And face the
I guess I'm going to try to be short and sweet. I'm a little emotional because I just had a little reunion back there. I came to Port Authority almost 18 years ago. I've since left. It wasn't just a job to me that most people look at, say, oh, I'm just coming here for a paycheck. I came here because I actually wanted to be here. I was a, whatever they call it, a streetcar buff, That doesn't make me a dork, is what they talk to you like when you come here. That doesn't make you, you get ridiculed for, you're one of those people, oh, those are losers. No, a loser is somebody that comes to their job and hates it every day just for a paycheck. That's what a loser is, not somebody that comes here and is enthusiastic about their job. One thing I noticed over the years, a lot of times, I don't know if all of management gets the honest word, because when somebody is worried about losing their job or they're worried about that paycheck, they're always going to, suck up to the people above them. It's natural order. So they might not get the honest opinion. But as for morale, it is, over the years I was here, I don't know how you even describe it. It's just, it slowly and steadfast kept dropping over the years. One of the major problems is you can't change what you don't acknowledge. And if people don't acknowledge that, that's why it is hard to hire. That's why it is hard to fill the spots. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody talks about it at the garage. Nobody, everybody's miserable, but I'm not seeing any real solutions. The biggest problem too is the thing that I don't ever hear people talk about is, the passengers. We talk about union contracts, what they want. We talk about management, this and that, but it's the passengers that's sitting out there in the dark while it's raining and there's no bus showing up. It doesn't matter what the app says. Even if the app says the bus isn't going to be here for 45 minutes, they were expecting to be there in half an hour. They got to get to work. They could lose their job. People don't want to hear, oh, the bus didn't show up. You can only do that so many times. You have to be reliable, and it's just not out there. After a period of time, our discretionary riders leave. That's why the parking rides aren't full. It's not because we're not filling up the buildings downtown. It's if you can't rely on it, you lose your job. And nobody cares. I don't see anybody ever addressing that. It's just it's very, very frustrating. I didn't want to, obviously I never came here before. I didn't want to talk about this. And I think what they did today, those awards are fantastic. I don't think that should be the exception. I think that should be the norm, that you see something, you do something, you say something, you don't look the other way and say, that's not my job. Addressing, I think that, when you turn on the TV, it's inclines down here. Buses aren't, showing up here. It's PRT all the time. It's not just here and there. It's every day. I turn that computer on. I turn on the TV. It's like I'm trying to ignore this stuff because after a while, you feel like your hands are tied. But certain people I've met here that I have a lot of respect for. So,
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Georgianne Lingenfelder. Georgianne Lingenfelder, are you here or on the line? Going once. Going twice. Okay, our next speaker is Armin Sammy. Armin Sammy, are you here or on the line? Okay,
I'm here virtually.
go ahead, you're on.
Great, thank you. So good morning to the board. My name is Armin Sammy. I live in Lawrenceville in Pittsburgh. And I'm speaking on behalf of my own experiences today, though I wear several safe streets oriented hats. So first I want to thank CEO Kellerman for acknowledging the ghost buses at the top of the hour. I also want to thank all employees in the room, drivers, board members. I know you're all here because you care about transit. I also care a lot about transit. In fact, I even met my wife on transit on a train under the San Francisco Bay, and we had a BART-themed wedding. It's a story so cute, even People magazine wrote about it. But I'm not here today to talk about my wedding. I'm here to talk about my experience on Sunday night, which I think some of you have already heard. So expanding on what CEO Kellerman hinted at earlier, I want to share an ongoing frustration I have with the 28X, which is the frequency of ghost buses on Sunday nights. I first contacted PRT about this in 2021, and I was told to wait for the new disruption management system. In 2022, I contacted again and was told that it was launched, but not everybody was trained on it. In 2023, I contacted again and was told it was live, but only during customer service hours. And now it's 2024, and I'm told it'll soon expand the customer service hours to be all hours of the day when the buses are running. Still, this Sunday, I waited over an hour for a bus. There were about 15 passengers with me who were waiting when the ghost bus didn't show up, and another 15 showed up in the next 30 minutes, which created a crowded bus with no luggage racks. It took nearly 3 hours to get home. I landed at 10:15, wasn't home till 1. And if I had accurate, reliable information, I would have just taken an Uber home. I know the extended hours are coming soon, and I really look forward to seeing this fixed once and for all. It's been a very frustrating 4 years since I first contacted PRT about this. And I want to thank you again for your invaluable service to the community and apologize for my heated tweet thread this weekend. It's very hard to stay this composed while waiting in the cold for 90 minutes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Nicholas Rizzio. Nicholas Rizzio.
Thank you, Mr.
In the
Chairman.
room?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. You're on.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Nicholas Rizzio. I live downtown. I actually just moved to Pittsburgh. I apologize. My hair is a little crazy this morning. I had to receive an unexpected furniture delivery. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the issues I care about. So why did I choose to move to Pittsburgh, and why am I living downtown? The reason why I'm living in Pittsburgh, I had some options of where I wanted to live, but the reason why I'm living in the city, I chose to move here, is because of your transit system. The bus system, we have 3 busways, we have the light rail, many bus services come through downtown. For me, when I looked at this place, I thought if I live downtown, I can live without a car, I can save a lot of money, and I can get to almost anywhere in the region that I need to very quickly. The East Busway, for example, like I use it like every week, at least to get to Aldi, to Target. Like there's so many places that this can get me to. The 3 pillars of any great transportation system are frequency, reliability, and speed. And I've been hearing from people, and I'm starting to experience it myself, that between our operator shortages and other problems that we're not having the highest frequencies that we used to anymore. We're not having the reliability that we used to have anymore. And sometimes we're not having the speed that we need. I mean, if you have a drop trip, I mean, the speed at which you actually physically got from point A to point B is pretty low. So these are all issues that I hope the board continues to address in the future. We need more bus operators. We need to work with our municipal partners in the city of Pittsburgh to encourage land use policies that will help grow ridership. The East Liberty, there's so many bus stations along the busway where I look at the land use around it. I'm like, these parcels are very underutilized. I actually was considering living in these areas, and the apartments are there's just not enough apartments, and the rent is like much higher over there than it is downtown. So we also need to look to our state partners, the state legislature, Josh Shapiro's plan to increase funding for public transit, but we also need to look at local revenue options so that we can raise revenue on our own. And finally, I will echo a point that someone else made previously about having updates on when the bus isn't coming. The transit app is what I use every day. I actually would encourage this board to think about maybe purchasing the citywide subscription for the transit apps, that we don't have to pay for it. I do pay for it. But the transit app can show rich information about whether or not a bus is coming. It can show when stations are closed and whatnot. Seattle already does show this information. So making sure that this information is always shown, no matter the hour of the day, can make this whole system a better experience for everybody else. So thank you for your time, and back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to Nicole Gallagher. Okay, thank you. Next is Ruby Williams. Ruby, are you online? Oh, there you are. Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, you're on. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Ruby Williams. I have epilepsy, so I'm unable to drive. My daughter and I rely on buses, friends, and our own 2 feet to get around. The bus is how we get to work and school each day. I live in an apartment complex in Ross Township off of McKnight Road. On February 18th, our bus stops at Stevens Drive and Brookview Lane connected to McKnight Road, where we catch the 12 and 012 buses, were eliminated. Riders now have to walk up or down the hills in that corridor of McKnight Road to the stops at Nelson Run Road or Babcock Boulevard. This area of McKnight Road is extremely dangerous. There are only shoulders to walk on with no barricades or actual sidewalks. Also, 2 of the bus stops we are being redirected to, one at U-Haul on Babcock Boulevard, the other by the Exxon at Nelson Run Road, do not have legal crosswalks to give us access to them. A pedestrian was actually struck and killed by a vehicle by one of these stops 2 years ago. Tuesday, when walking down to the bus stop at Babcock Boulevard, 3 of the 12 and 012 buses passed me by. Also, with 20-degree weather, when I was on the bridge, I slipped on the ice and almost fell. Thursday, walking up McKnight Road in the rain and mud, I was constantly checking over my shoulder for fear of being hit by a car. When construction begins, drivers will be limited to 1 lane in both directions. Pedestrians will have no space on the shoulders of McKnight Road, so we will have to walk in the lane of traffic to catch the bus. I'm concerned for the safety of riders as well as drivers. There are many other bus riders in my apartment complex as well. 2 of them I spoke with have disabilities that prevent them from being able to walk the distance to other bus stops. I spoke with one girl as we walked down the hill Wednesday who voiced her concerns for her safety as she walks the new distance each morning and afternoon now. Something needs to be done to keep pedestrians safe on McKnight Road there. PRT can do their part by reopening these stops when construction is finished. In the meantime, potentially setting up a shuttle of sorts to get riders to the other stops. These are 2 possibilities. However, I would be more than happy to discuss more with you. I want riders and drivers to feel safe as we get to work and anywhere else we may need to go. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. Our last speaker, and I'll apologize in advance for butchering the name, I'm sure.
Deb.
Thanks, Deb. How do you pronounce your name?
Basque.
I probably screwed it up.
I came here because I wanted to give you an example of what happened to me on Tuesday when I wanted to go to Costco. So I was at the stop early and all of a sudden it passed and I'm like, where's the bus? I haven't seen the bus. So I called up the operator and they basically said, oh, it went by. It already stopped there. And I'm like, it's a single lane road. And I'm standing, oh, you might have had your head down. So then the next schedule based on your, was it Ready to Ride app? That too, I didn't see it. Oh, it must have gone by and you had your head down. And I'm like, I don't think so. And they're like, well, try this other bus. It'll get you there, but you have to walk further. And I said, okay. So I looked up the road when I saw bus schedules approaching, and what I saw was instead of going to 4th and Grant bus stop, they were turning right onto Grant Street. So it never even hit the stop at all. And so I called up again, 3rd time, and they basically said, oh, well, they put a temporary stop on that bus stop. So you're going to have to walk to the next one. So I finally did get on the bus to Costco at almost 1 o'clock and I started at 11:15. And, you know, the other operators that I spoke to had no clue that that bus stop wasn't working. There was no sign at all advising riders. And I had actually seen a 56 bus go by. So why would I think that the stop isn't working? You know, and so things are out of sync. And they said, oh, you should use our app to get, you know, the routes and when buses are coming. And I'm like, you're Ready to Ride showed that buses are stopping there. And there were other people in queue at that same stop. And so almost 2 hours of my personal time in order to, you know, do it. And I was early and all this other stuff. And that's ridiculous. I am your customer. And if you're going to do a temporary stop, they said, oh, it's stopped because of there's some blockage. And I'm like, how'd that 56 bus go by? You know, that It's as big as the 53L, is it not? So, so some operators knew what was going on, others did not. And the one that did know was only because she says, well, you know what? Hold on, let me ask. So it took investigation on her part. And this same thing has happened to me where you're at a bus stop and no buses come and they say, oh, well, they've suspended that bus stop for a while. Well,
Thank you.
anyway, very frustrating.
Okay, our next regular meeting is Friday, March 22nd. So with that, we stand adjourned.